Hi, everyone. I'm Eric McCusker, the writer of No One Comes Close, and you're listening to the He's the Voice podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And the winner is Mr. John Farnham.
John Farnham.
Sir John Farnham for Whispering Jack.
But I, most of all, would like to thank my manager and very close friend, Glenn Wheatley. He put his money where my mouth is, and I thank him very much for that. Thanks, Glenn. Thank you very much indeed.
Greetings, Farnham fans. You're listening to He's the Voice, the one and only podcast devoted to the remarkable career achievements of Australian national treasure, John Farnham. My name's Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here as usual by my partner in crime, the one and only Nigel Langis is with us. How you doing, Nige?
Hey Adam, how you going?
I'm always good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good today.
Ready to talk some Farnham?
Yeah. Hey, why not? Why not? Sounds good to me.
That's
we're
it.
In the olden days of the vinyl, we're flipping it over, aren't we?
Well, that's it, mate. Today we're looking at track 6, No One Comes Close. Now, I'm going to just say right off the bat here, Nige, that this is probably one of my favourite tracks from the album. I think we've spoken already about what my personal favourites are, but this one is definitely up there. There's something about this song. As a romantic blue-eyed soul kind of song.
Yeah, I have to say the thing that I find really appealing about this song is very evident in the Whispering Jack live performance of the song.
Yes.
And that is just how soul is a really good way to describe how
yeah.
John performs it.
Yeah.
And if anything else, it's the live version that I absolutely love the most from that 1987 concert. And this track on the album, it makes me think about that live performance and it just heightens it for me. But yeah, it's a totally enjoyable song. And I think it's an interesting choice, but a really good choice. When with the vinyl record, those track positions really matter. You know, from track 1 on side 1, what is it that introduces you? And we spoke about that in the Pressure Down episode, the fact that this is the very first thing you hear that is Whispering Jack, and then you progress. Each song, they have their place, and it's there to serve a purpose. So flipping a vinyl record over onto side 2 and starting anew, that song is crucial to capture that listening audience, whether it's one person or 100 people, and to bring them back in, and so that they're not flipping the record off and changing to a different record.
Absolutely.
You lose that with a CD, and certainly the streaming that is around today. You lose that necessity or the understanding of that track order. But I think it's a great choice for the kicking off of side 2, whether it's cassette or vinyl.
Yeah. Nige, the musician
Yes.
credits for No One Comes Close.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Whispering Jack, vocals, backing vocals, and percussion. That's what I wanted to ask you about here, Nige. Percussion, John Farnham. Like, as in, what's he doing? What percussion do you hear? Like,
I don't know. I'd have to have another listen to the song
me
again.
too. It's very difficult with the electronic nature of Whispering Jack. I got to say, Nige. It's you don't know if you're actually hearing any percussion or if it's just a keyboard. You know,
No.
It's very hard to tell. And then we've got, of course, the man himself, David Hirschfelder, for keyboards and Fairlight.
Oh, I love that song. Just that riff. I think like we pretty much there was a lot of things off the Mondo Rock original version that we used, and then we just gave it that sort of Whispering Jack twang pseudo guitar with done on keyboards, like lots of glassy sounds. And yeah, I just thought, wow, like that was a song that I was looking forward to polishing up, but it actually turned out a lot more exciting than I even would have imagined from already a very promising demo. Well, the demo wasn't a demo. I think it was from a Mondo Rock album. I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, that was one of the surprises tracks for me.
Brett Garsett on the guitars.
The genius of Eric McCusker, huh?
Yeah.
You know, what a beautiful tune that is. It's amazing. But
what the sound of the guitar and the solo in that one as well, Brett? It's got a slightly different sort of sound to it. I don't know what you would call it in the solo. Do you know the guitar sounds a bit different?
It might have been when we were experimenting with a technique where you would just take like a Fender Strat, like these guys, and that's actually the same guitar I played on the live Whispering Jack concert. You know.
Oh, it is too.
Right. Yeah,
you're right. It has a very distinct look.
Yeah, beat up. And I did. It was in pretty good nick when I got it, but it's not now. Yeah. But we were experimenting with a technique which was common back then in the 80s of running the guitar straight into the console, into the recording console. Mm-hmm. And you get a very unique sort of a sound. It's absolutely pristine. And I decided to structure that solo a little bit and rather than just improvise it. And I don't know, I like it. It's a really pretty sort of a solo. So. It's a fantastic song. It really is an amazing tune. Yeah, Eric's just a bloody genius. Not only as a songwriter, but you know, I stalked him all through his years in Mondo Rock, trying to steal all his guitar rhythms. He's just a genius.
Yeah. Brett's solo, it's absolutely fantastic in this song, but always a highlight.
Yeah, for sure. And what I noticed as well was when they were performing at the Brisbane Expo in 88 and that concert was telecast in Australia, the solo that he performs is quite different from the one he does in the Whispering Jack concert.
Yeah, the guitar has a different amplified sound in that version.
Yeah, and again, it just helps diversify what it is that you're listening to as an audience member.
That's Brett Garsett on the guitar.
And the final credit, Nige, Fairlight and Drum Programs, Jack, Ross and Dave.
There we go.
Again.
I was going to say we've talked about them in the past.
So, Nige, the writer of the song is a Mr. Eric McCusker.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do we know about this gentleman?
Well, Eric is a well-established Australian writer. He was in a band in the 70s called the Captain Matchbox Whoopee Band. From there, Eric then went on to Mondo Rock. So he joined Mondo Rock in 1980 and was with Mondo Rock until 1991.
Yeah.
Mondo Rock has got a lot to credit Eric McCusker for because he wrote some of their most well-known hits. He wrote State of the Heart off of the Chemistry album in 1981. He also wrote Summer of 81 and the very well-known Cool World. So it's fair to say that he established himself quite well with the Chemistry album, but Eric wrote what may well be their single most identifiable song, and Mondo Rock recorded it in 1984, and that's Come Set the Boy.
Yeah, which John obviously did many, many years later in 2005 for his Aussie covers album. I remember when I was young.
Yeah, the Great Australian Songbook.
Come set the boy. Let's go down to the sand. Let's do what we wanna do. Let me be a man for you.
Yeah, so Eric's actually written not only big hits for Mondo Rock, but if you look back at songs that were successful in the 80s for Australian music, you will see Eric's name.
Often,
Yeah. Interesting enough, in more recent times, Eric has been a member of a band called The Dream Room, and one of the members of The Dream Room is also Nicky Nichols.
Oh, yes, Nicky. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And we had a fantastic opportunity at being able to speak to Eric. So without going any further, why don't we actually listen to that interview?
Let's do it.
Eric, can you talk to us about what you recall of your thoughts around Johnny Farnham in the Sadie, One and Raindrops days?
It's funny because Sadie was, I mean, that was almost like a novelty record, but I kind of liked novelty records. And a lot of records I did buy were sort of novelty records. And Sadie was a bit like that. One is a strange song. I mean, Raindrops Keeps Falling on Your Head is a good sort of straight ahead song. And I thought the Johnny Farnham version was a very classy sounding record. It seemed like around that time that Melbourne started making some really, really beautiful sounding records. You know, I Ain't Mama's Little Girl No More, and it was fantastic. With Linda George, I think. Eagle Rock, of course, you know, incredible sounding records. That was maybe a little bit later, but I can't remember, when did Raindrops come out? Probably
69, I think it was.
No, 70, yeah. I mean, I don't actually love that song. I mean, I love Burt Bacharach and Hal David, and I've got to know Hal David reasonably well in later years through kind of APRA and ASCAP. He was the chairman of ASCAP, and I was on the board of APRA, and met a few times. Ended up sitting next to him at dinner on about 5 or 6 occasions, and he loved a joke, and he would love talking about all the stuff, and he was, you know, truly, you know, very, very intelligent guy.
Now, the next bunch of questions we have here, Erica, in relation to your song, No One Comes Close, okay?
Yeah.
So do you by any chance still have any of the original drafts of your work as No One Comes Closer to progressed from ideas into a song?
I probably do, because I have all my lyric books still. I've never thrown any of them away, and I have been able to find Come Said the Boy and State of the Heart and those in my lyric books. I actually haven't looked for the lyric for No One Comes Close, so I'll have a look for it. It was sort of written to be as a sort of a contender to be on the album. It was a Mondo Rock album that ended up being called Boom Baby Boom, which came out in 1986. So it was sort of written for that.
Okay.
But the story behind the song was when I was sort of 17, 18, I met this English girl and kind of sort of fell in love for the first time. And she'd come out to Australia for just a few weeks. And anyway, sort of, you know, the relationship kind of fell apart, and I was sort of heartbroken. And I didn't see her again for something like, I think 11 years. And I sort of was kind of, you know, kind of miffed about having my heart broken, as you are when you're young and vulnerable. But I organised to see her again, and it was actually, you know, it was really good. I was with my sort of girlfriend who I just wanted to make sure I was over this first girlfriend, so I met with her, and it was great, and sort of got a lot of things sorted out, and it was really, really pleasant. And then she sort of said, "Oh, you should write a song about this," because she knew about Mondo Rock, and she'd sort of, when I'd started writing to her again a year or two before, and I'd mentioned I was in this band called Mondo Rock, and the first thing she had an Australian, a surgical assistant, a nurse, and she said, "Oh, have you heard of this Australian band called Mondo Rock?" And this woman said, "That's my favourite band in the world," you know. And so she knew I was sort of playing in bands, and she said, "Oh, you should write a song about this, you know, us meeting up again." And that was the impetus of writing No One Comes Close. But weirdly enough, at No One Comes Close, I started writing that story, but it turned out being a much sort of sadder story, you know, and I've learned over the years that if a song is trying to go in a certain direction, usually it's best to go where the song is telling you to go. If you try and force it into the sort of a particular thing, I don't know why, but it always seems to kind of weaken it. It seems, you know, as much as you can know anything about these mysterious things. So I just followed that, and it ended up being a story of a guy kind of meeting up with a girl who's now kind of famous, and they meet up, you know, just bumps into her on like a railway station platform, and he's still really cut up about it, you know, which is kind of the opposite of what had actually happened in this meeting, but that's where the drama seemed to be. You know, it's weird writing songs because they are like little short stories, and while they may have little bits of truth in them, they're usually invented. You know, Come Said the Boy was an invention, even though I used a few things here and a few things there from my life. And that's what it was with No One Comes Close. And it took a long time to write, you know. I mean, State of the Heart I wrote in 20 minutes, and once I'd got the idea. But No One Comes Close sort of took over, took about 6 months in a way to get right. And what I find often happens with the song, you'll get this burst, you get a brainstorm, a burst of creativity where you've got a lot of ideas and you can also see things very clearly. And it's like, okay, obviously it should go here in the second section. Obviously it should do this. And you have this clarity. And you typically maybe get half a song or 2/3 of a song in one sort of session, in one, sort of couple hours burst. But then when you come back to it, often it takes ages for you then to complete it, because I always try now to write as much as I possibly can when I'm in that first state of mind where it's all sort of rush of ideas. But for some reason, No One Comes Close, it's quite a complex song in some ways, when you actually boil down to the lyrics and the rhyming scheme and all of that sort of musical craftwork stuff. There's a lot there in it. So yeah, I wrote it kind of over the next 6 months. So let's see, it was 85 that I went back and saw Anne, and so the song was sort of written by, I guess, about a third of the, into the first few months of 1986, and we demoed it. I think by myself, I demoed it maybe just on a little Porter Studio 4-track demo, which again I should look for that because I've kept all of that stuff too.
Oh wow!
And then we demoed it with Mondo Rock. We do demos, and I think we did 2 sort of sessions of about 6 songs each, or 7 songs. I did them at a studio I think called York Street, where I'd done the original demos for State of the Heart 6 years earlier. And we had an American producer came over. We went into pre-production in Factory Sound in South Melbourne, and we'd come in with about 16 songs, but then we knew we were going to have to whittle it down to about 12 songs to do. So, it takes a long time, a lot of effort to record a song, and, you don't do many more than you end up with. And then we rehearsal one day, we were narrowing it down, and No One Comes Close got the flick. I can't even remember why, because I thought the song was good, but it didn't seem to fit in with the rest of the stuff on the American producer. Didn't like it or something. So I walked out of that sort of session, and rehearsing in the next studio was John Farnham. At the time he sort of, couldn't get arrested really. He was kind of on the low point of his career, but they were sort of pre-producing for the album that turned out to be Whispering Jack. And John came out, and I said, "Boy, have I got a song for you. Are you still looking for songs?" Or he'd come up and said, "You got any songs?" I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's one that just got the flick." So here's to rejection.
Absolutely.
A lot more copies by being on Whispering Jack than it would have been being on Boom Baby Boom, which I think sold for 40,000 copies or something like that, as against 3 million copies of Whispering Jack.
Yeah.
So that was good. Funny thing was that I was around this time. I mean, we recorded the Boom Baby Boom album. Ross and I went over to help mix it at the Village Recorder in Los Angeles, which is where Rumours was recorded, I think, where Fleetwood Mac, and where Steely Dan had recorded as well. And then came back and we made a film clip for the first single, which was called Rule of Threes. Then we did a film clip for Primitive Love Rights, and that was we were sort of filming that week, and I was getting married on the weekend to Jenny, who's still my wife, and so we had to film an extra day, so there was filming up to the Friday, and I was getting married on the Saturday, and we're going away for our honeymoon in Italy on the Sunday, and it was just completely madness. And I remember being in Venice with my wife. We're going, we should go on a gondola. And we looked at the gondola. It was like $130 each or something. We went, no, too expensive. And by the time I got back, freaking Whispering Jack was by then #1, and with including my song on it. And we could have afforded to go on the gondolas. Gondolas, we should have. Anyway.
Yes. Eric, the mystery person that's spoken about in the lyrics of No One Comes Close, you mentioned that she is a public figure, and the song implies that as well, obviously. How famous was she? Just out of curiosity.
She wasn't famous at all. That was the invention. The weird thing was, again, you use bits and pieces. It was also a kind of a reverse of something that happened, where an ex-girlfriend of mine had bumped into me after I'd become famous.
Right.
So it was me on the TV.
Okay.
And I'd sort of switched the roles in that, you know. Dame Annie is now somewhat famous, but in those days she wasn't. And so it was kind of telling the story of, which was interesting to me, you know, that I'd bumped into this old girlfriend of mine, and by then, you know, she'd seen me on the telly and watched me on Countdown, and it was so it was took that situation as well and combined it with the other situation with Annie. And so, yeah, and this is the way fiction gets written and where songs get written, where you just grab a bit and it is such a strange. Some people don't understand. When some people ask me if "Come Said the Boy" is true, and I sort of said, well, not really, and their face falls. It's like they almost think it's like bogus that I made this shit up, you know. But I reckon that makes it more difficult, you know, that I actually come up with this stuff. But you know, you still have to have for a song to be convincing and to feel real. I mean, these stories aren't necessarily real, but for them to feel real, you have to have kind of these bits of real stuff in them. I mean, and that sounds like it's an artificial thing, but this is what art is, a lie that tells the truth.
Absolutely,
you know?
It is.
And so yeah, you can't kind of look at the lyric of "No One Comes Close" and try and find anything literal in it, you know, but yet there is little bits of true stuff in there.
There's a second person in the song as well, Eric, the comforting friend that's spoken about in the lyrics as well.
Yeah.
That wasn't your wife, was it?
That's more or less, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Even though I don't think she liked that role.
Okay.
And you know,
particularly the line, the one on whom I can depend. Yeah, exactly.
Well, but that actually, you know, that doesn't sound romantic or anything, but hell, it's actually, you know, when you in real life, that stuff is important, you know, and we're still together. We've had a couple of kids, and we're still extremely fond of each other. And I still actually see Dame Annie from time to time too. I managed to be friends, and her and her husband come along. Yeah. My daughter and I stayed with them in London about 10 years ago, and she's an amazing person. And I'm very pleased that I'm able to kind of, you know, continue to be friends with her 50 years later. And she thinks this is all pretty funny.
I can imagine. That's it. Eric, a side note, Nigel and I actually had these two different angles when we spoke about the, you know, what the meaning of "No One Comes Close." Now, even in talking to you today and sort of like, you know, dissecting it quite intently as well, the "No One Comes Close" element is obviously, you know, you've got somebody who you've put on a pedestal and they're like, you know, like, oh, no one's come close to them, you know. But Nigel, do you want to mention to Eric about the flip side as well?
Yeah. In the same way that Every Step You Take from Sting, you know, so many people at face value can view that as a romantic type song, and I myself, so I'm a nurse by profession, but one of the things I used to do as a sideline was a marriage celebrant. And some people would ask for that to be their song that they go down the aisle to. You sort of go, hang on.
Yes.
Have you actually read the lyrics to that song? Yeah. Can you actually get past, you know, that
this is a stalking, really?
This is a stalking thing. And in the discussion that we were having, I did take the thing off. In reading the lyrics, I can sort of actually get a similar sort of thing in the narrative of "No One Comes Close," in the fact of it's a persistence and a pining for somebody or something where it can almost be an unhealthy level of not wanting to let go when that person has moved on.
No, I think that there is that there. But I mean, the interesting thing, when I was talking to Annie about the song years later, and she sort of said, there is the implication that the person who is the famous person and stuff also doesn't let anyone get close to them.
Yeah, that's true.
And she sort of said, did you mean that? And I went, well, yeah, I did actually. You know, and she was kind of like that. I mean, look, and again, this is almost like this still started with Annie stuff, but then it's turned into its own story. And so it's not really about Annie, and it's not really about, you know, my wife, and it uses all of that stuff as an aspect. The great thing, when I sort of saw Annie again for the first time, I got to actually talk about all of this stuff, and she was really, really nice. and told me some things that, where I'd sort of felt bad about things, she said, look, I probably wasn't in love with you, but, you made me feel really loved. And I said, that's a great thing to hear, but for a while before that, before I'd seen her again and reconciled all of this stuff, there had been periods where I was really angry with her, and I thought that I'd kind of, that she'd sort of, I don't know, demeaned me or something, and certainly broke my heart. So the story of the song where he is still angry, where I don't know, I never got the thing that he was sort of stalking her, but certainly he isn't really over her, in this song, and that, there had been years where that was how I felt, and that was the stuff that obviously needed to be said, because that was where the story was, and that's, whenever I tried to make the story nicer, all the power and the drama would disappear. So I just let it go, say this stuff, because this is the way God, people do feel when, It's interesting. I played this song. We did some Mondo Rock shows about 3 years ago, and where I played just more or less me singing and playing guitar, and the other guys in the band singing harmonies, sang No One Comes Close. And one of our stage roadies sort of says, every time you play that song, I start crying, because it's exactly the kind of story of his life, So there was still a girl in his life that he'd never really kind of got over, and he's sitting there at the desk tearing up about this song, and it's like, okay, there is, I think it's a really good song. I have to say, I'm really proud of the song, and I think the way the no one comes close, all of that, no one comes close to you, the way that the chorus kind of has this building thing where it keeps saying, and it keeps no one, and that structure is really, really good, and I really like the chords of the song. It's funny, he sings one of the lyrics wrong.
Really?
What's that?
Which bit?
It's the second line. It should be the first line, which I do like, is you gave me your cool hand lukewarm reception.
Yep.
So it's got this cool hand Luke little quote. It had been such a long time till there on the platform is what it should be.
Oh,
he said still there on the platform.
Yeah.
But it's actually originally was till there on the platform. And then when I heard the record, I'm going, well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So he says still there on the platform, but it's actually it'd been such a long time until there on the platform is really what
the official lyrics actually say still as well, so they changed it then.
Yeah. I don't think they realized they did, because I'm not sure that I even sent a lyric sheet when I sent the demo. Right. I think I just gave them the demo, and I think they just misheard it and did that.
Yeah, transcribing from that. Yeah, that can be dangerous sometimes, I imagine.
Absolutely, yeah. I always thought, slightly, the way I always sing it is you sing, you gave me your cool hand, lukewarm reception. And he goes, cool hand, lukewarm reception. And that sort of kind of kills off the cool hand Luke a little bit. Yeah. But, he sings it great. And it's mainly David Hirschfelder playing. I think it's all programmed apart from the guitars and the backing vocals. The album version is good, but I tell you what, he's continued playing that song ever since. In any big show he does. I mean, sometimes he does kind of reduce shows, for the bushfires and stuff. He hasn't done it, but almost every other show I've seen him. We've done shows with him a few times, and the way they do it live in the last sort of 5 years, I mean, he's kind of grown or something into that song. He just loves singing it. He always gives me credit for it. And it's stunning. It's the stunning. It wasn't a single, and it wasn't, I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, on the original album, there was no writing credits.
Yep.
It's the only album I've ever seen, really. I mean, I think maybe on the label copy of the vinyl, but like on the CD, there was no writing credits. I mean, my name's on it because it says permission to reprint the lyrics, and my publishing company was called Eric McCusker Music, but no one doesn't say who wrote which songs. I don't know why that was the case, but he's made up for it ever since by always, assiduously giving me credit.
Eric, can you recall the first time you heard John's recording of No One Comes Close, and what your impressions were of that actual recording.
The first thing I did is he's got the lyric wrong.
Yes, of course.
I actually can't recall. I remember thinking that, but then going, doesn't matter. It's still, still there on the platform. Still there on the platform. It's not. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, on the demo, I remember recording 2 guitar solos, and then I left them both in so that these 2 guitar solos kind of interweave. And I think that's more or less what Brett Garsett did. If you listen to it, it's almost like this, how come there's 2 guitar solos going on at the same time? But, that had been on the demo. Most of what's there on their version, most of the parts on the Mondo Rock demo, I don't think they had much money to make the record. I think, like I said, it was a difficult time for them. So I think it's just Hirschfeld had put that all together, and they probably came in and they put the guitar on and thought, let's leave it, But it's a really, really weird guitar, really weird bass line, and that's one of the things I like best about it. What key do I do? Okay. You gave me your cool hand, lukewarm reception. Been such a long time till they're on the platform. What can an old friend do except talk about just what's new? All the things that have happened since you went away. No one comes close. Someone maybe will come my way, but until that day, no one comes close to you. I see you in all those videos and movies. You talking on the talk shows while I stare at the TVs. What can an old friend say when I know you don't feel this way? That's why I'm taking this chance today to let you know that no one comes close. Someone maybe will come my way, but until that day, no one comes close to you. No one comes close. Of all the lovers I've ever known, well, you stand alone and no one comes close to you.
That deserves a round of applause, that does.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that, Eric.
Live performance, live on the show. Can't believe it.
Yeah,
That's great.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, can I pick up with, have you ever performed this live with John himself?
I never have, no. Even we've been on a couple of shows together, but no, sometimes he's gotten Ross up to sing
Touch of Paradise.
Paradise, but no, I've never got up and sung with John, which is a damn shame, actually. I've watched it from side of stage a couple of times at sort of big Day on the Green shows.
Yeah,
done a few with him. I remember one in Kings Park. I think he is, his version I saw like about 4 years ago. It was just phenomenal. I sort of did 2 shows with him, and I don't know. I was playing with Mondo Rock or playing in Ross Wilson's band, the Peaceniks. Yeah, watching it from side of stage. Wow, incredible.
Has the significance of the song grown for you over the years? And what does the song mean to you?
Well, this building I'm in I live in a long sort of Victorian terrace in North Carlton. And we built this building in 1988 with the money that I made from No One Comes Close. So this is the house that Jack built. So,
Love it.
That's just funny. You weren't looking for a financial answer, but
That's all right.
And it's funny because nobody knows I wrote this song, really. I mean, I have to tell people, I had a song on Whispering Jack. Oh, yeah. Which one? No One Comes Close. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a friend of mine from high school that says, you wrote the best song on the biggest selling album. So, okay, thanks.
On a side note, Eric, it's actually my dad's favorite John Farnham song. And I was like, yeah, there you go.
Good man. Say hi to him.
I will. We'll pass that on.
And it's funny because, like I said, this guy's kind of pretty cut when the song got kind of rejected from Mondo Rock, and I thought, I thought it was like a good piece of work, and it's a very, very grown-up song. It's not a trivial song. It's about heartbreak and it's about pain, but it's still kind of it's a beautiful song, I think, and it's sort of the emotional power. I mean, like I said, being side of stage, watching them do it is like,
You made mention before about the fact that obviously it wasn't a single. Do you think that it could have worked as one?
Don't know. It's maybe too deep for a single. I don't know. There are. Look, that's maybe a strange thing to say because there are some deep songs that become very big hits. But it's maybe that slight edge you were sort of talking about, how it's got a darkness to it, that the fact that the guy hasn't kind of really gotten over it, maybe that makes it a little less accessible. Would have been good if it was a single, because the thing is, it doesn't make me much money anymore.
Not until the next re-release, maybe.
I wish they would, because it's the biggest selling album in Australia, barring one, and that's, I believe, Bat Out of Hell.
Yeah.
Meatloaf. Yeah.
Meatloaf. And Whispering Jack, Whispering Jack sold more in Australia than Back in Black, than anything by the Beatles, anything by Michael Jackson. It's freaking ridiculous.
It's phenomenal, yeah.
And it's like 25 times platinum now. And I think it must be edging up close to catching up with Bat Out of Hell. So that would be pretty amazing. That would then be the biggest selling album in Australian history, in Australia, sales in Australia. I mean, it sold another 1.2 million, I think, around the rest of the world. So I think it ended up selling something like 3 million copies. But,
do you have your own personal copy of it, Eric?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, do you have any of other John's albums, just out of curiosity, or?
Well, I had a co-write on one of the songs on Age of Reason, a song called See the Banners Fall.
That was on Chain Reaction.
Oh, Chain Reaction, okay, yeah. I wrote a song with John Farnham, or we tried writing together, and that song ended up he didn't use it. But then that album came out, and See the Banners Fall, and I was like, that's got the same melody as our song. And I went to them and said, look, this is and they said, oh, sorry, you didn't even realize. And they gave me they were completely decent about it. They just hadn't actually realized that it was the same melody as the song. Can't remember the name of the song. Hard Day's Road, I think it was called.
Okay.
And so I ended up because I'd written the melody of that thing, of the verse was the same as us. So I ended up with a chunk of that. And then he recorded Come Said the Boy on that Aussie one.
Great Australian Songbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe he's recorded State of the Heart at some stage, but it hasn't come out.
On the actual composition of the song No One Comes Close, the bass line that you played live just before as well, the bass line, right? On John's version with the program bass line, I assume you're familiar with the Seinfeld bass sound, from the Seinfeld TV show, like the... that bass sound.
PPG.
Yeah.
It's a German sampling synthesizer called a PPG Wave.
Didn't know that, actually. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is, because our keyboard player at the album I was talking about that this song got rejected from. He'd just got PPG. It was a German synth.
Amazing.
It was all the rage, and
Very
it's
80s.
because and then it's got the big gated reverb on the drums, and it's that. I mean, it's funny because I sort of thought the sound of recordings from 75 to 85 was really beautiful, and in a way reached a peak that still sort of hasn't been reached again.
Eric, just as we start to bring this interview to a close, I've got one final question for you, and that is, what do you wish for your legacy to be in the years to come?
The thrill to me, I mean, there's a whole sort of industry, and it's amazing, you know. When you sometimes play on these big shows, you think, wow, somebody built this whole thing, you know, just for me to sing my songs to people. And to me, the kind of the main transaction is sort of between the songwriter and the listener, you know, and everything else is, you know, there's 1,000 things can get in the way of that, but it doesn't get in the way. And so when I just talk to somebody and they tell me, you know, and people have told me that, you know, some told me the State of the Heart saved their life, you know. They were thinking about suicide, and that song got them through the night, and, you know, that sort of thing. It's amazing. I mean, people talk to me all the time about Come Said the Boy and things that happened, and sort of some are tragic and some are funny. And but that kind of connection where you've kind of come up with this thing in your head, this little world, this little 3-minute world, and you knowing that it gets through to somebody the way the songs got through to me. I mean, I was very ill when I was 9, and a song called Our Day Will Come sort of saved me. You know, I had encephalitis and was in hospital. This is when I was 9, and in hospital for 3 weeks, and very nearly died. But that song was like this beacon that kind of, you know, really it got through to me. So these I mean, pop songs, you know, it's such a kind of a little form, and sometimes it feels like a trivial form, but my experience of it as a fan or as a listener, you know, it's a very, very profound thing. I mean, you know, I think, you know, Strawberry Fields Forever and something like that was like, you know, absolutely amazing things that blew my mind, and songs can give you this incredible solace. You know, sometimes when you're overpowered by grief, the only thing that can get you through is music, it seems. So this is not trivial stuff. And so that's what I just hope, that people still listening to the stuff and kind of getting it and hearing the story, and that's enough for me, you know. I mean, I've been very lucky that I've made enough money out of the songwriting, that I've been able to do this. That's all I have, you know, this is what I've been able to do my whole adult life, is to be a songwriter and a guitar player. And that's not easily done. You know, a lot of people aspire to that. And so you know, that's great. And I still love it. You know, that's the other thing. I mean, I still love guitars, and I still love writing songs and wrestling with lyrics, and you know, and when you get it right, it's just thrilling and fabulous. So I've managed to build a decent life, and out of these funny little songs, you know. And, you know, so such an interesting kind of postscript in a way to the Mondo Rock career was having this song, and then John cover the song, and then this album become so big. I mean, it was 1.8 million copies in Australia at a time when there was 18 million. So that every 10th person, which means every sort of second or third household, had this record. I mean, you're doing this thing, you know how influential it was, you know, to us, you know, almost like to its crazy degree. You know, he'd go and do 15, 20, 30 shows at the entertainment center, and it was just an impossibly sort of huge thing, and that was very pleased to be part of that.
Absolutely.
Eric, I just want to on a personal note, mate, just as we wrap up here, I just want to thank you. I've been listening to Whispering Jack since I was 6. So yeah, just to be able to speak to the writer of this song that was an introduction to pop music for me as well. So
no worries.
From me, thank you very much for your time, Eric. I know that it took a bit for us to get here today, but really appreciate you giving us that amount of time. So thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.
About it. Okay.
Stay well. Take care.
Bye now.
Nigel, in regards to the live versions of No One Comes Close, we've sort of got two separate eras that we've sort of been limited to here. Obviously, the song was performed as part of the Whispering Jack and Jack's Back tours. And then it was performed as well at the Expo concert, which you briefly touched upon before.
Yeah, that's right.
But after that, it disappeared for 20 years and it returned when John came back to perform the album in its entirety for the Whispering Jack 25 Years On tour. Like John said, he rediscovered it. And it was essentially part of the majority of his live shows throughout the 2010s, all the way up until 2018, 2019 shows, Nige. So it's had two lifetimes.
Yeah. And I think something that's interesting in that then, if you look at the beginning, 86 when the album came out, 87, right through to 88 as well. And so those couple of years, they were the David Hirschfelder years. To then be picked up for the 2011, the 25th anniversary of Whispering Jack, which was under the baton of Chong Lim.
Well, when we discuss set list, that's the first one. He goes, "Yep, I'm doing that." And the other song, "Love to Shine." These two, he really wants to do them. He loves them. He comes off the stage and says, "Oh God, Chongy, I love that song. I love singing those songs." Yeah. We had a plethora of songs to choose from, and he picked those two.
So yeah, that was Chong. And what I also want to add to extend that conversation is that No One Comes Close was also featured in the Two Strong Hearts tour that John did with Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, great version.
And the thing that I find interesting with this version is it actually features the MSO, Melbourne Symphony.
Which is so great to hear because we never heard it like that before.
I know I'm based in Adelaide and there's an Adelaide Symphony Orchestra, but that got me thinking to whether every state or territory has their own symphony orchestra. And actually, I don't know if we do, but I'll have to look into that and actually work out whether, the Northern Territory's got one and Tasmania as well.
Did the Two Strong Hearts get to South Australia? I can't remember.
Yeah,
it did? Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of John's concerts, they elect to actually start the tour here in Adelaide.
Yeah.
So let's have a listen to a snippet of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra as part of the Two Strong Hearts tour.
Such a long time, still there on the platform. But what can an old friend do? Talk about just what's new. Things that have happened since you went away. No one, nobody there. No one comes close. Someone maybe will come my way.
So there you go. And whilst we're there, let's pick up on some comments that are made also by a couple of our other guests, they being Lindsay Field and Angus Birchall.
Great song. We had a fabulous time singing this because it just had a great pocket, particularly when we became a little looser from the program. Years later, I can remember when Craig Newman joined the band. And Craig and I we'd played together for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. I played together with him before I joined Farnham's band. We had a band called WJAZ that played at the Limerick Arms with Linda George and Penny Dyer, Craig's wife, and Rosie Bazzani before that. It's three singers. So it was fantastic. Great band. Alex Patou. And we talked about that bass line where it goes do 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 boom, do 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 da da boom boom, do 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 do. So it has these slides in it, that you don't really get from machines. And so it took on to this day, we still love playing that song because it's got such a great feel. And the vocal group on the choruses, it's just ballsy. It's a real gospel sort of thing. It was the closest thing to a gospel song on that album. Everybody was at their strongest.
It's a beautiful song, isn't it? It's like a love story gone wrong. It's a very sad kind of, the lyrics, there's the edge. Is he stalking her, or is he watching her from afar? It's got a slightly bent twist to it. It's a beautiful song. It's always great fun to play.
I love that you say that about those lyrics, because we had a discussion and it was actually talking exactly about that. The fact of there is an element of this that it's almost a little bit stalkish. There is a darker side to this song, and I think it's one of the hidden gems for that reason amongst what is already an amazing album.
Oh, he's a great songwriter, and I've worked with him a lot and spoken to him over the years, and there's he did tell me a little bit about the song, and there's a story there, and it's tremendous. And it's one of those, when you have so many songs to choose from, some of them slip through the cracks, or but that one was just sitting on the bench for a few years, waiting to come back on and play.
Well, that's pretty much it, Nige. We're pretty much on the home stretch now. But one thing that was very evident from not just listening to, the writer Eric, of course, but also most of our guests as well, was the fact that this is very much a very popular song in John's repertoire. Did you get that impression as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that it came back again for 2011 onwards just shows that it's a song they really enjoy, and it holds a deserving place when they perform live.
Yeah, and I love that statement as well about just the fact that John admitted to Chong, I don't know why we took this out. Yeah, it's a great credit to it, definitely. So, was there anything else that needed to be mentioned?
Usually we would mention this stuff at the top of the episode, but incidentally, No One Comes Close is actually a B-side to an international release. There's a UK maxi single of A Touch of Paradise.
Okay, yep.
So it's got A Touch of Paradise on one side, and then it's got two songs on the other side, and No One Comes Close is one of those. So what's really funny with this, just as we're bringing this to a close, is the credits on this maxi single are very wrong.
Really?
So, we've got John Farnham on vocals and piano, David Hirschfelder on keyboards, Brett Garsed on guitar, Greg McCainch on bass, Angus Birchall on percussion, Donna McConville on vocals.
What?
And Michelle Argue on vocals.
So that sounds like a live version?
Something? Or? Those credits are actually taken from the 1986 New Year's Eve concert that they did a performance in Shepparton.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And then there's songs that are featured on Anthology 2 and Anthology 3. So as much as they did get them wrong for this maxi single release, that's where they've got them from, obviously.
Yep. Just got these more misinformed people in the UK, that's all.
Never mind. At least we got the maxi single, and that's the important thing.
Indeed.
Anyway, mate, as we round out this episode, and actually, before we do that, I think we should do some socials.
Oh, yes, the formalities, it's got to be done. Yeah, so you can find us on our Facebook group, also YouTube, Instagram, and X.
So as we round this episode out, of course, we're going to finish with our live recording of the song.
Which comes from the Melbourne Sports and Entertainment Centre in March 1987.
That's the one.
Yep.
So, thanks very much for your time, Adam. It's been a good
No worries at all, mate. Always a pleasure.
Look forward to catching up with you next episode.
Indeed. Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
See you around. He's the voice, guys.
new. Things that have happened since you went away. No one, no one comes close. Someone maybe will come my way. Till that day, no one comes close to you. Yeah, yeah. I see you in all talk on the talk show. I stare at the TV. What can an old friend say? I know